No, come on. Why aren't you playing? You silly, silly video. Well, let's try this. No. You know, the one time we don't test it, right? Hi, everybody. We are going to start with our video in a moment, which for some reason was being ornery. So sometimes if I close it and reopen it, that. Okay, breathe. It's going to be one of those wonderful evenings filled with spontaneous surprise. Let's try this one more time, shall we? In fact, you know what I am going to do? I'm going to cheat and I'm going to stop the recording. We're going to start all over again. Here we go.
What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday night edition of the Awakening World. I see a lot of our most loyal and beloved global peace tribers in the audience, and we have a wonderful show tonight. We are going to do another edition of Authors That We Love. Now, normally we have 3 authors and 3 books. Tonight we have 4 authors and 1 book. And so it's a little bit different. And in the beginning, there was Adora Deva and Molly, and they were good. And we're going to be hearing from them. They're going to tell us all about this wonderful book. We're also going to meet Phoenix. And a little bit later, we're going to meet one of their other colleagues who's going to join us. But we always like to start our show in a rockin' and rollin' kind of way. And that's where our house musical artist and most beloved Omar Shar lives. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Wherever you are. Yes, yes, yes. I love our authors that we love. It's always such an informative time. And welcome everybody who's watching on Facebook and YouTube and our broadcast partners, Humanities Team et al. And we're going to start tonight with a little song, and it's actually called Naked and Blind. And what it is in the sight of the divine feminine, the source of all creation, we're all naked, and without that sight coming through us, we cannot really see very much. And so this is kind of the premise of this song. And so I'm going to click me pro sound.
Please show me how to reach you. Strip me down, let go my mind. I was naked and blind. finding it harder holding on to what's gone. And there's the future. What if we never get that far? I know it may sound crazy if I say not much is real. So tell me inside, how do you feel? This is the time to break the mold of the old and dysfunctional way we have lived our lives so far. How much longer can we hold on to that which tears us apart? So free up your mind, open your heart. No longer can we hold on to that which tears us apart. So free up your mind, open your heart. Finally free from self-disguise, I rise from the ashes of the me I used to know. You know that I am a dreamer, and I would like you to see that I am dreaming a new reality. Please show me how to reach you. Strip me down, let go my mind. I was naked and blind.
Going to gallery view, everybody. Let's twinkle and appreciate Omar Shar for that beautiful song. As always, that's a very pretty melody.
It is a pretty melody. It was one I was visiting Norway, as one does, and in the depth of winter in Bergen, and this song just popped out, and I thought, I like that song. I'm going to write it. It was written in, like, I don't know, within an hour. Not the whole arrangement of it, but the actual structure of it. So just one of the things that just came through really nicely. Beautiful melody.
Oh, beautiful. And we will have two more songs from Omar Shar tonight.
And
And Phoenix is going to provide a musical interlude as well. So we're looking forward to that. Well, what is tonight's book all about? Here it is. It's a wonderful title. Sacred Stories of Initiation and Spiritual Sovereignty, Her Coronation. And four of the women who wrote this book, I believe it's a collection of 18 stories, if I've got the number correct. And so we're going to start off with Molly and Adora Deva who look very confused. The camera's on you guys as we see you scrambling to find something there.
Molly was looking. Okay, I'll go ahead and start. Nadine was supposed to be on here and she was my partner to get this story written, get the book written. I was in a mystery school with Nadine a few years ago, and she had said she wanted to do a book and asked several of the women, and it just didn't get off the ground. And then about a year ago, I said to Nadine, let's do it. I will find women who will write the stories and we will do it. And that's what just happened. I found women and everyone said yes. And we were able to produce the book. We found an incredible editor and she ended up writing a story too. And we found a beautiful illustrator for the cover and it all came together. So it's very exciting. I did write the dedication, so I'm going to read that. In deep appreciation for all my women friends who have seen me in the best of times and in deep inner struggle, and they reflected back to me their love and appreciation. Giving thanks to all the goddesses, Tara with her deep, compassionate wisdom, offering sweet nectar to all who call on her. Kali, who has annihilated me when things needed to be transformed. Mother Mary, who has held me in her loving arms when in deep sorrow. And Mary Magdalene, who has shown me that I can see with the eyes of my heart. I give gratitude for my husband Scott and all men who support the divine feminine. May you feel your passion rising with each story and know we all have stories to tell that can inspire the world.
It's a
I
beautiful dedication.
Thank you. I also wanted to read something that Nadine and I talked about, and since she's not here, I think I will read that, and then I will hand it over to Molly to read the introduction, because she wrote the introduction, so it's great.
Okay.
So this is called A Spiritual Conspiracy. On the surface of the world right now, there is a war and violence, and things seem dark. But calmly and quietly at the same time, something else is happening underground. An inner revolution is taking place, and certain individuals are being called to a higher light. It is a silent revolution, from the inside out and from the ground up. This is a global operation, a spiritual conspiracy. There are sleeper cells in every nation on the planet. You might not see us on TV, you might not read about us, but you might. We don't seek glory, we don't wear uniforms. We come in all shapes and sizes, colors and styles. Most of us work anonymously. We are quietly working behind the scenes in every country and culture of the world. Cities big and small, mountains and valleys, and farms and villages, tribes and remote islands. You could pass by one of us on the street and maybe not notice. We go undercover sometimes. It is of no concern to us who takes the final credit, but simply that we get the work done. Occasionally, we spot each other in the street. We give a quiet nod and continue on our way. During the day, many of us pretend we have normal jobs, but behind the false storefront at night is where the real work takes place. Some call us the conscious army. We are slowly creating a new world with the power of our minds and our hearts. We follow with passion and joy. Our orders come from the central spiritual intelligence. We are dropping soft, secret love bombs when no one is looking. Poems, hugs, music, photography, movies, kind words, smiles, meditation, prayer, dance, social activism, website blogs, and random acts of kindness. We're releasing grudges and letting go of judgments. We each express ourselves in our own unique ways, with our own unique gifts and talents. Be the change you want to see in the world. This is the motto that fills our hearts. We know it is the only real way for transformation to take place. We know that quietly and humbly, we have the power of all the oceans combined. Our work is slow. Like the formation of mountains, it is not even visible at first glance, and yet with entire tectonic plates shall be moved in the centuries to come. Love is a new religion of the 21st century. You don't have to be highly educated or have an exceptional knowledge to understand it. It comes from the intelligence of the heart, embedded in the timeless evolutionary pulse of all human beings. Be the change you want to see in the world. Nobody else can do it for you. We are recruiting now. Perhaps you will join us or already have. All are welcome. The door is open. And that was by Brian Piergrossi. I saw it and I thought it really pertained to what we're wanting to put out in the world.
So before Molly shares, I want to go back and take a look at the cover and the title of the book and ask you to explain it to us. When you say her coronation, I'm assuming it's a collective her, or is it a goddess that represents this movement?
Well, what I think it is that each of the women in their stories had to overcome many obstacles. And so it's really the crowning of, her own wisdom. And that's the way we thought about it, that we're all moving past our own ideas that we can't do something and able to, walk forward in our life in a beautiful way.
Okay.
It's like, you may be struggling, but you don't drown. It's sort of that thing that we're all able to swim in deep waters, but we survive. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And some of us have called on the goddess to help us lift us up.
Yes,
So
definitely.
The answer to your question is yes.
Okay. We've done quite a few shows on the rise of the divine feminine, and several of the people that are in the audience are, quite active in that movement. We've also done several shows about Mary Magdalene, with Eden Amadora co-hosting, Marguerite Rigoloso. I probably just butchered her name. Christy Michaels, who's a regular, I don't know if Christy's in the audience tonight, she puts on the Magdalene Feast every year. So you've got a lot of friends and people that I think can relate to what you initially wrote or read, I should say, and what we're here to learn more about tonight.
And Molly and I did go on a tour to walk the path of Mary Magdalene not too long ago. Yeah, in France.
In France.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. When Eden got back, she did a whole slideshow. So many of us have seen a lot of the photographs and of the area, both the outside and the inside. And so, in fact, we had, when was it, Omar? Just 2 weeks ago, we had somebody channeling Mary Magdalene. We had Anthony and Renee. I don't know if you know them. They're a couple, and they channel together Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, and they were on the show a couple of weeks ago. So it's definitely really happening. So many different people are getting the call of the rise of the divine feminine in their own unique ways. So with that said, please tell us more about your call.
The divine feminine and masculine is so in my heart right now. So Yeshua and Mary Magdalene together. I am a writer, among other things, although that's another story. But Dora approached me over a year ago and asked me if I wanted to write a story about my struggles. And I was so impressed with the idea. And Dora and Nadine really did a tremendous job of putting this remarkable book together. And the stories in this book are just remarkable. They're real stories of real live people who, you'll see in my introduction, it just really pulled themselves up from horrible losses and single parenting and financial loss, to come into this notion, to come into the inner sacred self of the divine feminine. It was really the divine feminine. I think that pulled each of us up. Even if it was in the embodiment of a male, that male was divining the feminine and masculine within himself. So we're really on a path of meeting each other in this place. It's just amazing. So we're 18 women, I think, who came together to write these stories. So I could read the introduction. I was so honored when Adora approached me and asked me to write it. And we were going to combine the dedication, the introduction, all these other things. But we all wrote such individual, remarkable pieces that we had to keep them in separate categories to create a whole, if that makes sense. So this is the introduction I wrote. Are you a seeker searching for inspiration, courage, and the ability to trust deeply your own intuition and guidance? In her Coronation, Sacred Stories of Initiation and Spiritual Sovereignty, I have the honor to be one of the authors among these 18 women who have written about their experiences involving these qualities. Questioning our validity, inner wisdom, and courage, we each have come up against that learned social voice that says we are crazy and we shouldn't ever do whatever that inner voice is guiding us to do. In being asked to write the introduction, I realized that even though I am a contributor, I stand in awe of my fellow authors. Living off the grid in a yurt, a real estate agent riding a bicycle to avoid financial loss, finding bliss within the poverty of India, realizing higher self-truths after almost losing a finger during a harrowing hike, leaving home at 17, only to land a couple of years later in the loving, compassionate teachings of the Green Tara. These are just some of the experiences shared in this collection. It is my hope that these stories will grab you in the same way they grabbed me. Written in gripping prose and vivid poetry, I have realized two things. One, each of these accounts has asked me to courageously look at the fears stopping me from moving toward my next inner truth. And two, even though I am a contributor, this guidance doesn't ever stop, and I am forever encouraged. While I am slow at realizing these things, taking long drinks from the stories in this book, I also began to realize again what is possible. For these are not fairy tales. No matter how long the real and rich possibilities take to sink in they do. These are true life adventures that are filled with grit, poverty, single parenting, devastating divorces, and unexpected deaths of loved ones. Yet each woman finds the voice of spirit within herself, and step by step, crumb by crumb, on hands and knees, is lifted to areas within herself that she never imagined. In fact, could not have imagined, as the Spirit's design for each of us, when we finally decide to follow it, no matter how wobbly we may be, is far greater, more generous, and imaginative than anything our own hearts and minds could ever create. These stories are meant to be read again and again. Eventually, courage and inspiration will take hold in your heart, and you will trust that your own inner voice and guidance will not lead you astray. And ultimately, this is what these stories say: take heart. Take your own heart into your own heart and listen. Allow even one of these tales to enter your bloodstream and ignite.
Mm, beautiful, beautiful. So just to be clear, all 18 stories are more autobiographical.
Every single one of them.
Everyone is autobiographical. So it's really how each of you have gone through whatever life's challenges have been, um, to kind of claim your own connection to the divine feminine.
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful. Well, you have another wonderful colleague with you, and I'm going to bring her on camera too. But I'd love for you to introduce her, Adora. And this is, of course, Phoenix. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Hi.
Well, I met Phoenix through Nadine, and I'm really glad that I was able to meet her. And she wrote an incredible story, and she's an incredible part of this book. So thank you for coming on too.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, Phoenix, tell us, if you could, it would be wonderful to hear what your story is.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. I just I feel so honored to be part of this book project, but also just part of this movement, the overall movement, and to most of you here on the call, probably just, when you find that you can walk hand in hand with spirit, you just so much fear dissolves, and you really can live with more peace. And I think the great journey is really the um, it is the struggle to discover ourselves and that inner knowing. And what's beautiful about this book, I'm just reflecting on my own meeting of Nadine. I met her. She was doing a 13 Moon Mystery School event at a yurt in Berkeley, and I innocently have no idea what the goddess is, find my way there somehow into this dance practice to awaken the primal goddess, which I knew nothing about. And it's true when I mean, my journey to it, it's sometimes you're following these little whispers into places that, bring up a little bit of fear, I would say, or like, this is weird, um, until you just surrender to that and allow yourself to, yeah, give your ego up to that greater force. And there is a struggle with it. And I think that when we um when we meet the challenges in our lives, especially the most difficult ones, that is really when we are able to allow spirit to come in and to help us when we're in those times of most need. And so, in reading these stories and reading my own story together with all the stories of these women, I mean, anybody who is alive at this time, we can see each other in our stories. We're so very similar in the struggles that we face, whether they be grief and loss and or divorce, or just especially the women's journeys to overcome our own the old models of what it meant to be a woman. I think that that's part of her coronation is really us. I write in my chapter about this embodiment piece and the way of divine feminine spirituality I find to be slightly different than the pathway of what I had known spirituality to be. Praying in a church, Jesus Christ, it just was never part of my culture. And it was almost like, I mean, it was like the goddess like hit me beside the head, what is this? Because it wasn't part of our overculture. It wasn't part of my overculture anyway. And I think that's really beautiful because it really is a pathway into oneself as opposed to it's seeking out. And reading Adora's journey and mine around dance and movement and this whole embodiment piece, and what I am now bringing forth through She Living Ministry, is this is and womb consciousness, and how important it is for us to be focusing this way as opposed to outward, um, seeking for external validation. It's really how do we go inward and ground, not only to our hearts, but then also to our wombs where the seed of creation really lies. Because I feel that we are at a time where I feel we are to birth new things. And those new things are coming through us. And women, particularly, are really connected to that through our wombs. As mothers, we birth things, and there's the going into the void is the way in. I would say to the bigger light. that was my journey anyway. And in my own personal story, I speak about how music came in. Spirit started talking to me through music, and I didn't grow up with any sort of religious or spiritual practice. As you can see, I'm Chinese American, and when my family moved to this country, um, we didn't have a lot of grounding in the culture. And so in my divorce story, I'm sorry, I laugh because my story starts with me. Um, my only way to pray, I didn't know how to pray. And I was kind of on my knees, like just saying to myself or somebody, help, help.
Mhm.
And the funny thing about my story is when I was crying help in my consciousness, it started coming out with the Beatles song, Help, I need somebody, help, not just anybody, help, I need someone, help. Um, and then the lyrics just like came streaming down. When I was younger, so much younger than today, I never needed anybody's help in any way. And it's true. I didn't think I needed any help until you need freaking help from somewhere else, and then then you surrender to it, and then the songs just kept coming, and the Beatles and Let It Be and Mother Mary. And my heart started to open and expand, and spirit kept coming through me through songs. Just, the soundtrack of my life, and whatever it is, sometimes it's sad and sometimes it's painful, and people have written songs about that, or people have written poetry about that feeling. And that's part of our human existence, to express that. And then it's true, we don't feel so alone. Um, and now, my the way that I want to share my transformation is through music, and is through Om Shar's beautiful song at the opening here, when we can connect with our hearts and sing together, a tune with one another in the field of love. And then even the power of music and movement and dance to uplift and get us into the vibration of joy. So yeah, so that is where I am now, where I have arrived. There's still so much we can create together, individually and together. There's still so much music to write about, and to share. So yeah, I hope that you'll have a look at this book, and be a witness to our stories, that you might find, or whoever's listening might find your own story. And in that, there's so much healing that happens.
Beautiful. Well, I want to acknowledge you. We've been doing this show for almost 5 years. We always have different musical artists. We've had hundreds of artists and songs, but that is the very first time anyone's done a cover of the Beatles' Help song. That is a new moment in
Okay.
the Global Peace Tribe music history here. I do want to read some of the comments that are coming in from our wonderful audience. Diara writes, "Love your story, Phoenix. Spirit taught me about emotions, also through song." Omushar writes, "Eloquently spoken, Phoenix. Freaking help is here in the form of the divine feminine."
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Um, and Susan Bloomquist writes, "I hear truth in these women's words." There is authenticity to this presentation. Um, and somebody asked, really enjoying what she's heard. Is the book available? And the Kindle version is what we've got that we put in the chat box, and the hard copy will be coming out in a few weeks. And again, you can order this book. I put it into the chat box. But for those of you watching on Facebook and YouTube, just go to Amazon. And if you pop in Her Coronation, it comes right up. Just put in Her Coronation, and that's where you can buy the Kindle version right now and read it off of Kindle. And we're really excited to kind of be premiering this, really. I think we're the first ones that are kind of actively promoting and sharing this book out. You mentioned the 13 Moon Mystery School. Ariel Spilsbury, who I believe is the founder, has
Yes.
been on this show a couple of times. And her prize pupil, if you will, Eden, is one of our regular co-hosts.
Wonderful.
So,
May I say something, Scott? Bernadine in the audience is also one of the authors in this book,
Oh, good.
and she's with us. And I don't know if here she is. Could I bring her up?
yeah,
Yeah.
please
So
do.
Bernadine,
Probably here.
we
I
go.
got her.
Yay.
Oh.
Very-
We also have another author, Jerica, is also an author of in the book, and
Is
she's
she in
here.
the chat in the room?
Yes, she's in the room.
Oh, and Doreen is here.
Oh,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah. Hi,
yay.
everyone.
Hi.
And Jerica. Okay,
Right.
awesome.
All right, now the party has begun. How wonderful. Well, welcome Bernadine, welcome Doreen. And I
Thank
guess if you can model what Phoenix did for us, I'll start with you, Doreen. Maybe share with us a little bit about your story and your connection to this wonderful book.
Okay, I just arrived because I just finished work, so excuse me for coming in late. So the prompt, I guess, is just to talk about, I haven't heard anybody else, so
Oh, I'm sorry. Sure.
that's okay.
I'll go to Bernadine then, because if Bernadine's been here for a little while.
I can share.
Prompt, yeah, the prompt will be to share kind of what your story in the book is, and how you kind of came to this wonderful project and kind of what it's
Yeah,
meant.
I was invited by Adora. It was an honor to be invited, an unexpected gift. And I had been writing my own blog, so I feel like I was already preparing myself for this when she said, "Do you want to come write a chapter in this book? You've got some interesting stories." And so I was super honored, and I got to write my story that I'd already kind of pieced together in sharing my blogs. And so I put a couple of them together and wove them into what was my story going through divorce, also like Phoenix, but also kind of hitting that point I think I've heard a lot of women speak to, where they hit a wall with trying to find a healthy relationship, trying to find their soulmate, trying to find someone they can finally, feel at home with, or feel like, there's something that you're seeking and you don't know if you're going to find it. And the fear that comes with that, and the sadness that comes with that, and especially when you're a single mom with kids. So that was my journey and my story. And right when I was about to give up, I found my person, and he's just walked in the door, and he's going to cook me dinner. So I'm excited about that. But before all of that happened, I did have a spiritual process where it was about, coming to understand that we're all connected, and Goddess is in all of us. And so being able to see that in everyone and hold that for myself was really an important part of my journey and my growth, so that I could find the love that I finally could give myself reflected in another. So that was my journey.
Beautiful. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And what does being, since the title is Coronation, how do you feel coronated? Is it having met your mate and having a mate that's a great guy who makes dinner for you? Is that kind of the
I think it was, well, I start my story out with sharing how the verbal abuse that I experienced as a child kind of imprinted in my world, some distorted version of what love was. So I kept choosing the toxic, damaged masculine version in, the father of my children initially, and then on and on and on. It kept, the cycle kept repeating. So it wasn't until I could, go inside like Phoenix talked about, and, do my own healing work inside of the conversation I was having with myself about my own identity and my worth. And there's a phrase that I tell in my storytelling where I changed my inner dialogue from who will deal with me with all my stuff, all my faults and all of my shortcomings, to who gets to be with me.
Wow, I love that. From who put up with me to who gets to be with me. That is powerful.
Yeah, and that was the big shift for me. And then I started noticing things change after that, and how I was showing up in the world and how people were seeing me, and then ultimately, finding my person to hold me in that light as well.
And what were some of the breadcrumbs? Meaning, you said that you started noticing some changes. What were some of the little things that took place that let you know that, okay, I'm on my path now?
Yeah, it was actually kind of a significant piece where I was traveling through Europe, which I had done on my own a couple different times. And before, I had felt really alone. And then when I was traveling this last time that I went by myself, I noticed that people were responding to me differently and more open, and just really wanting to be of service and just shining the light at me, like I deserved, attention and to be helped, just because, like I looked like I needed help, and they would show up to help me, and things like that were really in sequence. So it wasn't like it was like one incident and then a long time, it was like after I had that shift and then the ripple. And I think life works that way. And we underestimate the power of manifestation. And if you can imagine it, then it'll show up. And I forget that myself, even though I've seen proof of it over and over and over again in my life. So it's a good reminder for not just, my story and wanting to manifest a partner, but really, like, how do you want your life to be in the world? And that's the work that I do as a guide and a life coach. And, I do women's programs and things like that also. So there's a calling that I have as, like, service to life. And it feeds me simultaneously, for sure.
Beautiful. Well, I hope that if your husband isn't too shy, maybe you can bring him on camera for a minute or two sometime before the end of the show. Or if he's right there, is he
Yeah,
available?
he's right there. He
Well,
just
bring
went
him
through
on.
the door. I don't
Let's
know
see
if
the
you
lucky guy.
want to say
Let's see
hi.
the guy who won the lottery and got to be Bernadine's partner.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, how are you?
Yay.
Congratulations on winning the lottery, the Bernadine lottery.
It's beautiful to weave with another soul and share aspirations and be a container to support each other's growth. And what more could you ask for?
Wow. Wow.
Well, everybody in the Zoom room just sighed a collective, oh, I want one of those. I want one of those. Beautiful.
All
Thank
right,
you,
he's
Bern.
taken. He's taken.
Well, that's a hard act to follow, but Doreen, I'm going to give you a shot at it. Welcome to the Awakening World, and we would love to hear your story.
Hey, thank you, Scott, for giving me this opportunity. Well, like Bernadine, I've been friends with Adora for a long time, and she asked me if I wanted to come into this project, and I immediately said yes. I didn't know what I was going to write about at the time, and it's interesting that process. I could have written about at least seven different things, right? My life has been like that, a lot of change and a lot of coronations along the way. But the thing I chose was almost coming through me as I called my story A Swami's Tale. And so I have a Swami, and he's an Indian guru, and he's not in his body anymore. But the story is about how I met him and the journey that I took from originally just seeing his picture and then doing processes and then going to India and going to his ashram And all of this took place in 2006 to 2008. And during that time, it was, oh, there was so much going on. And so there was so much I could have written about, but you have a container that I think 3,000 words is what we were given. So yes, it's about going to India. It's about the process of me going to India and all that it took for me to get to India and get past my blocks about going to India and get the money and all of the things and then having a supernatural experience when at the ashram there in southern India. So the ashram, the Swami's name is Sri Sai Kaleshwar. He's not in his body anymore. He actually left his body in 2012. But I was blessed to be one of the hundreds or maybe thousands of people that got to spend some time with him while he was here for just a short period of time from 1973 until 2012. So he didn't spend a lot of time on the planet, but he did make a very big splash. And he created this ashram that's still running called the Shiva Sai Mandir in Andhra Pradesh in a small town called Penakonda, which is north of Bangalore. And so he had quite a dynamic, enormously dynamic life. You can look him up if you want. And his name is Kaleshwar. And so yes, so that was my story. And yeah, it was quite a ride. It didn't stop in 2008, by the way. It continues to this day. And that was just the beginning. Yeah, that story is just the beginning. And everything changed for me. It was enormous coronation. Everything changed for me. And I was reading today this quote from Rudolf Steiner because, I mean, basically what Kaleshwar was working with supernatural energies and he was giving people experiences. And my experience that I wrote about was a darshan with the Mother Divine. And that was in the physical. And, not many people in the world get to have something like that, right? Just a handful. And so there's a lot of personal unworthiness and self-doubt and all of the things that, in the beginning when you're like, maybe I won the lottery or something, I'm not sure why I got to go, but you're like, why me? And then I started to say, why not me? And as you go through these processes, your self-esteem starts to grow and your unworthiness just starts to drop away. And all of the things that we as humans carry, all of these what Swami had called blocks. It could be too much anger, it could be too much fear. Fear will stop you in your tracks. And it could be never trusting anything is another one, doubting everything or just I think after studying these things for almost 20 years is that unworthiness I think is so rampant and underneath, most people's operating system is running this unworthiness, right? So this you know basically what Swami was giving people was supernatural experiences, not just myself. And so one might say, well, why? Why do you do that? Why would you do that? And what difference does it make if you see the Mother Divine, in the day-to-day life kind of thing? And so of course, I've thought deeply on this for a long time, but I read a quote today from Rudolf Steiner. Rudolf Steiner was a great visionary and mystic of the last century and a great, left us a lot of interesting information. And he says, for each step you wish to advance along the mystical path, you must take 3 steps to become a better human being.
Mm.
Love that.
And that really rang true, because as we go through these processes, and that's why I love this book, it's 17 different views, feminine views also of these processes that we take, and some of them are more in the mundane world and some of them are more in the mystical world, but they intertwine with each other. They're not separate. you know? And so when we have these mystical experiences, whether you're using plant medicine or going to South India to an ashram or whatever you're doing, you know, it is actually ultimately making you a better human being. It's opening the heart, it's making you more compassionate, and it's dropping all of these silly blocks, you know, yes, a good gardener, that's right. I'm reading the chat. Yeah, so there's my story, and the story continues. I continued to have other mystical experiences with him, which I will actually probably write about more and more. And
Beautiful. Well, I'm going to bring up, here's a photograph of your master,
yes,
the
yay!
Sri Kaleshwar, and I'm sure many of the people in our audience have heard of him, and maybe some others have also studied with him. Um,
Yes, nice.
so very beautiful being, and you're right. It was a short life, 38 years.
Hmm.
Um, so that is definitely a short life, but a powerful and a meaningful one. And a lot of people are commenting now about Rudolf Steiner. Of course, he created the whole idea of organic biodynamic planting. Um, and Diara put a quote in, which I'll read, from Rudolf Steiner. She writes, but this is his quote: "There will come a time when a diseased condition will not be described as it is today by physicians and psychologists, but will be spoken of in musical terms as one would speak of a piano that was out of tune."
Mm.
Thank you, Diara, for finding that. And Adora points out that we are all gardeners of love.
Yes.
Uh,
Did you write that? Beautiful.
um, and Reverend Jeffrey, one of our most beloved, all these people are beloved members of our tribe, writes, "Those who seek to find the one without ceasing will find the Lord dwelling in their own hearts." And that, of course, is from the Bhagavad Gita. So thank you, Doreen.
Yes,
Well,
thank
we
you.
have still another wonderful author. They're like procreating in our Zoom room. And so Jerica, who's another author of this book, is with us. And so Jerica, I'm going to put you on camera and welcome to the Awakening World.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, love to hear what's your story in the book. And yeah, share us a little bit about yourself and your story.
Absolutely. I love what Doreen said about the spiritual being in the mundane, right? And the physical and the non-physical. So my chapter is called From Princess to Priestess. And so I talked about my autoimmune healing journey and how that kind of really awoken me to my own sovereignty and to this beautiful world of priestessing that I am now a part of. So in my early 20s, I was getting all these weird symptoms, and as they were coming in, it took about 3 years to finally figure out that I had Lyme's disease. And through finding out that I had Lyme's disease, I was brought to my meditation teacher, who really opened my eyes and my third eye to this world of healing. And I didn't really grow up with spirituality, and I didn't really have a grounding practice. And so it's this long, winding path that I was going through to really heal myself and to heal my body. And then on top of that, I also started off with the lens of sharing about how, I grew up with Disney princesses. They were at the forefront of my consciousness from the time I was born, basically. And then I grew up with movies like American Pie and Clueless and She's All That. That was heavily focused on partying and being the cool kid and all this other external stuff, really pulling me outside of myself. And so then as I entered my 20s and all these symptoms started coming up from treating my body so poorly, it was this really interesting experience of taking all that energy I'd poured outward back inward. And, through that time period, I was also married and also heavily reliant on my partner and heavily reliant on other people outside of me and what I knew was best for me. And then even having things like gluten allergies taught me how to speak up for myself and how to use my voice and how to be in my power. So it's just been this really interesting journey of what's been going on with my health. And when I was able to start working with the emotional component of what was going on, then everything started healing in the physical. And then that also led me to my spiritual path. And along the way, so I found my energy meditation teacher, which led me to the priestess path, which also is where I found Nadine originally when we were part of a group called Wisdom Woman many moons ago. And then that's where I also met Cindy, and before She Living Ministry, it was She Living Media. And all of these things have swirled together in a beautiful way, and it continues to unfold and blossom. And I now support other women, helping them work with the emotional component of whatever's going on with them physically, to restore their health and their happiness. So that's my story.
Lyme's disease is a very difficult and challenging disease. So for you to work your way through that and come to where you are right now is definitely worth celebrating. And when you talk about kind of the emotional component, do you use Louise Hay's practices, or kind of have you made up your own? How do you work that?
Yeah, I'm a tapping practitioner, so emotional freedom technique, tapping on the meridian points to loosen the stuck energy. And then I do a lot of shadow work with my tapping. So we go straight to the place of where there was a rupture, what happened with them in their younger years, and kind of go and pull out the weeds and till the soil until we plant new seeds and they can bloom again. So that's the process that we go through. And tapping is just so powerful because it works quickly. Usually within 6 sessions, I can help people get to a baseline of stability again, which is amazing.
Beautiful. Would you be willing? I mean, this is spontaneous. I've never met you before. There's my dog who just came jumping up, and she's probably showing off her spring cut. She just got her spring cut. Would you be willing, if there was a member of our audience who's got something going on, to be willing to talk to them a little bit and do a little tapping with them?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that.
Okay, fantastic. So let's do this. What we're going to do is we're going to go, because we're about the mid-show point. So we're going to go to Omashar for our mid-show song. And then if anybody wants to receive a little spontaneous nurturing and support from Jerica, put a note in the chat box, and then I will choose somebody for you. How's that sound? Great. And here's Omashar. And there's Green Tara.
Walk this way again. Lay down all your guards. Your loving hearts will lead the way. The door is open. The wonderful and the new is waiting patiently. Take the step and you will see all you've been dreaming. Now is the time we've been waiting for so long, and I've been holding you through all ages, knowing I'd be with you once again. You'll never be alone again. Please take my hand in yours. I love you just the way you are. You're my creation. The wonderful and the new is waiting patiently. Take the step and you will see see all you've been dreaming. 'Cause now is the time you've been waiting for so long. I've been holding you through all ages, knowing I'd be with you once again. Bum bum ba dum ba da da da. Bum da dum da da da. Bum ba dum bum ba da da. Da 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 da. You'll never walk this way again. So lay down all your guards. Your loving hearts will lead the way. The door is open. Because now is the time we've been waiting for so long. I've been holding you through all ages, knowing I'd be with you once again. Bum ba dum ba da da da. Bum da dum dum bum. Bum bum ba dum ba da da da. Da 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 da. You'll never be alone again. Please take my hand in yours. I love you just the way you are. You're my creation. You'll never walk this way again. So lay down all your guards. Your loving hearts will lead the way. The door is open.
The gallery view, let's send twinkles, love. Thank you, Bernadine, for your hearts. Lots and lots of love for that beautiful, beautiful song. I love that song so much. Thank you. Well, we are going to go ahead. I just saw DR's suggestion, which is a great suggestion. But I had already promised Lorna Sass, who's a dear friend. Angelica, I chose Laura because she also has been dealing with Lyme disease. So you're both on camera. Angelica, take it away. And thank you for so spontaneously agreeing to do this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I do know tapping. I have done it, but not recently.
Okay, let me see. I just want to make sure I can see you. There you are, Lorna. Okay, so Lorna, you're just going to do what I do and say what I say, and you all can follow along at home. So we're going to start with the side of the hand, just tapping lightly and gently. You don't need to do it hard or vigorously. And before we begin, we'll have off-gassing that might happen. So that looks like burping, sneezing, crying, laughing. Let it out. Don't keep it in. That's a part of your body's healing process. So I just want you to take a big, deep breath in. Exhale, let it go. Yeah, and Lorna, what's one thing that you're dealing with the Lyme that you're just like, I wish this would just go away?
It's between low energy and depression.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. And between the two, which one do you feel is worse? If you had to choose.
Let's go with depression.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're very deeply connected.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And how do you know that you have the depression? Where do you experience that in your body?
That is such a hard question for me to answer because I'm in freeze a lot.
That's perfect. That's right there, even information. Yeah. And so when you're in freeze, how do you recognize you're in freeze?
I can't feel inside my body. I can't answer that question. Where is the sensation?
That's perfect. Okay. Deep breath in, big wave of compassion right into your heart. Exhale, let it go. Good. And you'll just repeat after me. Even though I feel freeze
Even though I feel freeze,
and I don't know where it's coming from.
and I have some sense of where it's coming from, actually. But do you want me to say what you said?
Nope, you can change my words. That's perfect.
Yeah,
Your words are better.
I'm aware of trauma, etc. So yeah, I have
Okay.
some sense of where it's coming from. Mhm.
Mhm. I'm open to loving and accepting myself.
I'm open to loving and accepting myself. I don't
Even
know
though
how open I am. Am I being a troublesome client here?
no,
Because
say it again. That
yeah,
I didn't
I
hear
don't
you.
know how open I am. I would like to be open
Mhm.
to loving myself, but this
I'm
is
open to the possibility one day,
I'm open to the possibility of loving myself. Yeah.
one day.
One day.
Even though I want to shame myself, judge myself, what is it for you?
Even though I feel hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been on the path for a long time and it just ain't happening.
Mm-hmm. I'm open to being gentle with myself right now.
I'm open to being gentle with myself right now.
It's understandable I feel hopeless.
It's understandable I feel hopeless.
I've been dealing with this for so long.
I've been dealing with this for so long.
Of course, I feel hopeless.
Of course, I feel hopeless.
I'm open to being compassionate with myself
I'm open to being compassionate with myself
as I tap and breathe through this.
as I tap and breathe through this.
Big breath, big wave of compassion right into your heart. Exhale, let it go. And just notice if you're feeling any sensation, allowing it to be there. Just let it come up and out. That's okay. Big breath. Good. What are you noticing in this moment? Any thoughts or feelings coming in?
Still pretty frozen.
That's okay. Top of the head. I still feel frozen,
I still feel frozen,
and that's okay.
and that's okay.
Inside the eyebrows, there's nothing wrong,
There's nothing wrong,
even when I'm frozen.
even when I'm frozen.
Side of the eyes. It's okay that I'm frozen.
It's okay that I'm frozen.
I'm open to the possibility.
I'm open to the possibility.
In this moment,
In this moment,
I'm safe.
I'm safe.
Big breath, big wave of compassion. Exhale, let it go. Good. Under the eyes, maybe I'll start to thaw out.
Maybe I'll start to thaw out.
Maybe I won't.
Maybe I won't.
Either way,
Either way,
I choose to be kind to myself.
I choose to be kind to myself.
Under the nose, I've been dealing with a lot.
I've been dealing with a lot.
Of course, I'm frozen.
Of course, I'm frozen.
I'm sending love to the part of me
I'm sending love to the part of me
that feels stuck.
that feels stuck,
Top of the chin, that feels trapped.
that feels trapped.
Of course, I feel this way.
Of course, I feel this way.
Big breath, big wave of compassion. All this fear.
All this fear.
What if it never gets better?
What if it never gets better?
Tapping on the collarbone. I'm terrified it will never get better.
I'm terrified it will never get better. And I just got a tick bite last week, which felt like it re-traumatized me, but it did test negative.
That's good. Yeah. Of course, I feel all this fear.
Of course, I feel all this fear.
I just got a tick bite.
I just got a tick bite.
That's re-traumatizing.
That's re-traumatizing.
I'm open to sending myself so much love and compassion
I'm open to sending myself so much love and compassion
as I tap and breathe through this.
as I tap and breathe through this.
Big breath, big wave of compassion. I'm still okay,
I'm still okay,
even when I'm frozen.
even when I'm frozen. Now, I don't believe that, actually.
What are you telling yourself instead?
That I'm not okay being frozen.
Front of the ribs, what part doesn't feel okay?
Well, I think it's my mind that's playing the tricks
Mm-hmm.
and the tiredness.
Mm-hmm. What job does your mind think it's doing by telling you it's not okay?
It's trying to correct me in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it makes me bad. There must be something I'm doing wrong. It's basically my mother's voice. I must be doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm not feeling any better no matter what I do.
Yeah. And so if we were doing a full session, that's the place that I would dig into. And since we're in front of a big group of people, I'm going to pause us there. But what I want you to do is I want you to hear your mother's voice. Oops, sorry, I'm on my cell phone. And I want you to imagine some sort of a box or a container. And I want you to put your mother's voice inside that container. And I want you to put a lock on it. And I want you to send it as far away as you need it to go. It can be anywhere. So I get some space from it.
Great
And when you have
idea.
that, sorry, go ahead.
That's a great idea. I love it.
Perfect. Does that feel far away enough now?
I've sunk it way, 10,000 fathoms under the sea.
Yeah, good. Tapping on the side of the ribs.
But the ocean needs my mother.
Yeah.
It's already polluted enough. Yeah, okay.
Tapping inside the wrist. I'm open to trusting,
I'm open to trusting,
even though I don't feel okay,
even though I don't feel okay.
that I've done some good work here today.
That I've done some good work here today.
I have an idea
I have an idea
of where this frozen energy is coming from.
of where this frozen energy is coming from.
And that's a good start.
And that's a good start. Thank you.
Yeah. And I trust I can come back to this
I trust that I can come back to this
whenever I'm ready.
whenever I'm ready.
Good. I just want you to tap all over your body, send yourself some love, and you can say out loud if you wish, or in your head, one thing that you just love about yourself.
My curiosity. I love my
There we
curiosity.
go. And we're going to end how
and my resilience. I added a second one. Okay.
I love it. And so we're going to end how I end with my little kids. You're going to inhale for 1, exhale 2, inhale 3, exhale 4, and release your hands up into the air. Let go of anything and everything that is no longer needed. Let go up into the clouds. Let's sprinkle down like rain, painting a rainbow around your auric field. Place a hand on your heart and a hand on your womb, and take a big deep breath into the beautiful new you. Thank you, Lorna. Appreciate you. Please reach out if you want to continue anything.
Thank everyone for witnessing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lorna, for being willing to volunteer. And Jerica, I am so impressed. You just have such a kindness, and you have a beautiful balance of knowing what to do, being clear, but doing it with so much kindness and gentleness. It was just a beautiful, beautiful, very spontaneous demonstration. Please put into the chat box how people can reach you. Scotty Satori just wrote, Jerica, this is the best of the best I have ever seen of EFT explained. I've used EFT a lot. I need to remember this, how you do it in my toolbox. Perfect timing. Love it. Absolutely.
And can I
Pam.
just share one more quick thing, Scott, before I sign off? And
Oh,
so
don't
there,
sign off. Don't sign off.
oh,
We've
no,
got
not signing off.
17
I'll stay
more
here.
people lined up to get treatments from you tonight. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, perfect. I just wanted to share that there is something called borrowed benefits. So as you're watching, as you're tapping along, you can also get the benefit of tapping. So if you notice any off-gassing that you were doing, trust that. And maybe something will spontaneously shift for you as well. Maybe you had a cognitive shift while you were doing it. So just trust it. And yeah, I hope it was helpful and beneficial for you all. Thank you.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Pam writes, lovely to see Lorna smile at the end. That was amazing to watch, Jerica. Eleanor Troy writes, Jerica, Lorna, you are both brilliant. So lots of appreciation to put in the chat box so people can reach you. Thank you. Well, that was a lovely, spontaneous something. We're going to go back. You know, it all began in the beginning. It was Molly and Adora, and we've gone on this beautiful journey, and we're going to come back to Molly and Adora because they haven't had a chance to fully share their stories. So do you see us okay?
Hello, yes, yes. Well, I wasn't going to tell this part of my story, but since two people have talked about Lyme disease, my story is many stories in my life, how struggles and how I got through them. I also had Lyme disease for many years and struggled doing antibiotics and IVs and you name it. I was trying and I wasn't getting well. And I went down to Optimum Health Institute and I was doing a breathwork session where I was dancing. And all of a sudden, I heard in my mind, like words from Babaji saying, I will always be with you. And I got this aha at that moment. And I thought earlier in my life, I had wanted something to help motivate me to pray. And I certainly was on my hands and knees praying since I was so sick. And that was the turning of me getting better, is finding an emotional component to that. And then I continued doing light therapy and lots of other therapies, and I did get well. And interesting enough, after I heard those words in my head, a song came on, this I Will Always Be With You. And it was by Scott Grace, which some of you people know who he is. And so I reached out to him, and I know him since hearing his voice and hearing it beforehand. So that was one of my stories. Another story, I'm actually going to just read this one part of another story. My chapter is called Dance Your Prayers because most of my life I have danced and embodied the goddess to work through and enter states of ecstatic and work through traumas. And so this is, it says, there in front of me was a flyer and it said, Dance the Goddess and the 21 qualities of Tara. I was transfixed and I knew I had to attend this workshop. Something about the description of the dance of the goddess was compelling. The 21 qualities of Tara, it's a Tibetan Buddhist practice. It's a mandala ceremony. The weekend class was to be held in the San Francisco Bay Area. I signed up immediately along with a friend, Amanda. Dancing in the classes, I felt I had become Tara. I was in complete joy and presence. Here was a prayer practice that used movement as a sacred dance offering. It was to embody the divine. It was another example of prayer in motion, a practice that was created by Premadasara, which had been danced for the Dalai Lama, and offered in many countries around the world. I had known kindness as my religion, and here was a practice that teaches that compassion is a healing balm for the world. Saturday after class, we were given an aspect or praise of Tara to dance the following day. The dance would be for an audience and a well-known Lama. While in the hotel room with Amanda, I started to freak out, and I told her I can't do this. The vulnerability had brought out in me such fright. My old shy self was coming up again. I was completely frozen and beside myself. I was wondering how could I perform the next day. I felt I wasn't good enough. Memories of fear, being judged, came flooding in. As a child, I could not talk in front of a classroom or a group of people. I would go blank and I could not speak if called upon. Silence and invisibility had been my safe companions. Once again, I was so afraid to express myself. I had regressed back to childhood. The difference that day was that I could talk about it, pouring my heart out to someone I trusted. Amanda calmed me down. She asked me why was I afraid since I had been teaching ecstatic dance. And I shouted to her, "It's a performance." She helped me to see that the dance I was about to do was an offering. I would be dancing for the benefit of all sentient beings. I would become the embodiment of Tara, who gives her blessing to all those who receive her. That was the gift, to think of it as an offering. This new perception changed me, and I was able to dance the next day. In divine perfection, the quality I was given to dance was transformer of poison. Embodying Tara in this dance began my devotion to Tara, and I found another doorway to bliss. So, yeah, that's one story. And I'll tell another short story. Another story in my chapter is about my relationship with my previous partner, Mellon Thomas Benedict. And he was an inventor of most of the light therapy devices that are on the market today. And he was well known for his near-death experience. I traveled with him quite a bit when he gave lectures, when he was a keynote speaker on NDEs or light therapy. And the story ends pretty tragically. I won't tell you the whole story, with him losing everything, including his brilliant mind. So that was a pretty tragic part. But why I wanted to read this is the last poem he wrote before he died. I wanted to read it because it was about me. And I remember love. Golden fireflies dance with you. They sparkle like fairies in the night. And I remember love. The nature of your spirit embodies the emerald green Tara. And I remember love. To be loved by you, I am blessed to be loved by you. To love you is heaven on earth, Mellon. So,
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you. By the way, Scott Grace has been on the show before.
oh, cool.
Yeah, Scott's been on. Molly, is there anything you'd like to share?
So I'm trying to think of where to begin. I grew up in San Francisco and ended up in Boston, Massachusetts for way too many years. And what happened was I ended up joining a cult without knowing it in San Francisco, which took me to Boston. And so it took me 40 years to get back to California. And my story is written in poems. And I tried to write it in prose and poetry too. And we were broken up into buddies. And my buddy said, get rid of the prose. Let's just see what happens when you write in full poetry. And so all of a sudden, my home, I had boxes of journals, crates of journals, and my whole home was filled with these journals from my past, dating back to 1980. And I found these treasures of poems. And for a long time, I didn't think I could write poetry. I wrote it, but I didn't think I was a poet. And when I found these treasures recently, I've reclaimed myself as a poet because of my connection to the divine feminine and the absolute necessity to dig down deep and reclaim our gifts. And I've been writing my whole life, but off and on. And what Doreen said about unworthiness, that seemed to be my God for very many, many years. So my story is called Reclamation, and it's a story of poetry going into the shadow work that saved my life, going into the dark goddess. Sylvia Perez's book, The Descent of the Goddess, Ishtar Anana, Queen of Heaven and Earth, two of my Bibles that therapist I had grew me up on these stories about the importance of darkness for the woman. And so she introduced me to the goddess, and I was beyond my jaw dropped every time she talked about the goddess, because all of a sudden there's a loving entity. And the whole idea of bringing the archetypes into my heart and feeling the energy of these archetypes, Persephone in particular, So being raised on the darkness of the goddess and the treasures that can be found in the dark, and being a storyteller and into fairy tales my whole life, they also saved my life. Understanding that there are gems at the bottom of the deepest, darkest wells. And that's really what the fairy tales are based on, although they're very moralistic and got to do right by them. And so they didn't really work, of course. But so there I was stuck in the winters of Massachusetts, dying to get back to California. And so I delved deep into the darkness of winter and wrote poems remembering the beauty of the Golden Gate Bridge. We had a view of it from my childhood home in San Francisco, and how the majestic bridge would rise up out of the fog, and the fog would just create this skirt around the bridge. And then you'd see the golden lake sinking into the ocean and the golden tips rising up, and the foghorns were my music. And so I would sit there in my home, just everything covered with snow. And I'm a short person, and it was 10 feet tall. And my friend said, if you're going to dig out the snow, put a red hat on top so we know that you're underneath all that snow trying to dig yourself out. But it was a miserable time for me. And so I write about the seasons in particular, and how eventually I held on to this dream to get back to California no matter what. And it was quite, I'm sorry, I get really choked up. I've been back home for 4 years, and it has been absolutely magical being back home in California, and in Santa Cruz, California, of all places, where I spent 3 of my happiest years at UCSC back in the 70s. So the story is told in poems about raising my daughter, about the incredible beauty of the fall, the horror of the winter, the coming of spring, the heat of the summer, the bugs and the flowers, and raising my daughter, trying to get into school to become a therapist, the failure of getting in, the success of getting in, and then building my practice, and the death of my parents, the death of my brother through COVID, which got me home. That was it. I had direct guidance once he died. I couldn't come home to see him because it was in the summer of COVID, in the summer of 2020. And I had direct guidance one day. 2 of my very closest friends, within 24 hours of each other, told me they were moving out of state. They were just about my only friends left. And that night I stayed up crying and praying on my knees, meditating, and I got some of the clearest guidance I've ever had. And the guidance was, you can stay here in Massachusetts, you can stay here in this really beautiful town and really make an effort to make a life and make new friends, or you can go home to California. It's your choice, and there was it was COVID that put my therapeutic practice online so that I could move. I got my license in California finally, and there is no question. Within 6 weeks of that decision, I was on an airplane from Boston to San Francisco. And so my story is more or less about this through poetry. And if you're interested in the story of the cult, I have written an award-winning novel called A Break in the Fog, and I'm told it's really, really good. It's intense and deep and really good. This is what I've been told.
Wow. And can you put the information on how people can order that into the chat box?
I did put it in. I'll be happy to put it in again. It's called A Break in the Fog. You can find it on Amazon. You can go to abreakinthefog.com to read all of the reviews about it. I'm very proud of it. And a few things brought me out of the darkness in Massachusetts, and one of them was studying the family constellation approach, which has become my absolute passion. And this is ancestral work where we go into the soul of the family without your family members needing to be present. And we look at unconscious, unwanted soul agreements in the love of the presence of our ancestors. And you don't even have to have known them. There's just so much love that comes through when we invite them in. And then you're able to really have a shift in consciousness as you make new and conscious agreements in the presence of your ancestors, and they come in to help like nobody's business. They're so connected right now back to the presence of love that we're made of.
Beautiful. Here's her book. It's A Break in the Fog. And if you just go to abreakinthefog.com, it pulls right up for you, and you can buy it using PayPal. You can buy it on Amazon. And a reminder that we're here celebrating this wonderful collaboration of 18 amazing women called her Coronation, Sacred Stories of Initiation and Spiritual Sovereignty. And you can get that on Amazon. The Kindle edition is available now. Just click and buy with one click. And I'm going to read some of the comments that have come in from our audience, and then we're going to come back to Phoenix, who's going to bless us with a musical interlude. But here are some of the comments coming in. Diara points out that lots of soul shifts took place while Molly was sharing, and that's true. Susan S. moved from Chicago to California, and Diara moved from Massachusetts to California. So you've got two sisters in the audience who can appreciate that journey. Several people really appreciating the poetry that you read, Adora. Thank you so much for that. It's really beautiful how each of you is sharing from your heart, and I'm really appreciating that. We're going to go to Phoenix. And Phoenix, you and I became Facebook friends today, and I did go to your Facebook page and saw that you actually have also it looks like a new spiritual center that you're helping to initiate.
Yes, we do. We just started monthly services. It's called She Living Ministry.
Can't hear you though very well. Maybe is it
She Living
Omashar? Does she need to turn?
You've gone really quiet, Phoenix. Did you move your mic?
Oh, I think I moved my mic. How about now?
Now we hear you beautifully.
Oh, now you.
Now you're muted.
We'll get there.
Okay, how about now? Sorry, you tap it and it goes mute.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, we just started a ministry in honor of the divine feminine and the awakening of womb consciousness for the birthing of new earth. She Living Ministry stands for Spirited, Heart-Centered Evolutionary Living. We just started monthly services, and we'll be offering both in person in the Bay Area, hybrid via Zoom, and probably also a online once a month as well. So twice a month services for us to connect, very similar to the way you're doing here, Scott. It's a beautiful show here. Yeah, to just reunite in this vibration. And I think, when we come together in community in whatever form, in person, even online, we're able to do this. I just feel like we can generate a powerful container to allow prayers and healing to happen. And so me and about 13 other women, Jerica is one of the priestesses in our circle, as well as Nadine, and we are really open to weaving with other, both sisters and brothers in this, to shift consciousness and drop us into love in our hearts. So thank you for that.
And if people are interested, just go to Facebook and you can look her up. Her full name is Phoenix, Meima.
Phoenix May Ma.
Phoenix Meima. And it's right at the very top of her profile page. The Living Ministry monthly services are beginning or just began on March 1st, 11 o'clock in the morning till 12:30. And that's in Kensington.
Yes.
That's where people can learn more about it. So thank you for that. And there's a lot to integrate. We're winding down. I would love for you to share a little bit of your beautiful, is that an auto harp?
I'd love to play a little bit just to integrate all that was spoken and consecrate this time. Yeah, this is called the Chinese guzheng.
Oh,
Guzheng. It is a ancient Chinese folk instrument. Um, yeah, and I'd love to play it for you.
beautiful. Thank you.
And your original sound is on? Still on?
Original sound is on.
Okay.
Oh, Mashar, do I need to move my microphone closer to the instrument
Yeah,
or?
yeah, do that. Make sure you don't tap it off though. Haha.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, we'll put it down here. Can we hear that? I'm going to devote this to her coronation and to all of us, hearts opening, finding our way back to our bodies. Devotion to the goddess.
Let's go to gallery view, everybody, and just send some beautiful twinkles. It's always such a joy to hear a unique instrument. So thank you very much for that, Phoenix.
Thank you.
Any last thoughts you'd like to share tonight?
Oh, are you asking me?
Yes, I will bring Molly
Um,
and Dora back one last time, but I was asking you before I.
um, yeah, I mean, my last thoughts are in the theme of what I wrote about, which is the sound of music, is around frequency and energy, that we are all vibration. Um, and yeah, I know that when we drop in together like this and just open our hearts, we can really open to miracles. And I'm excited for what's happening on the planet and all of us and our deepest expressions flourishing, that we are all medicine for each other and are in the things and the gifts that we have to share. And so sending so much love to everyone here and to, yeah, her coronation and the wisdom that is arising from inside of all of us.
Beautiful. Thank you, Phoenix. We will bring all of our guests up one last time, but I want to make several announcements, actually. I want to let you know what we've got coming up. And on Saturday night, it is time for another Soul Search collaboration. Once a month, we collaborate with Soul Search and Tangela. And once again, she's got some wonderful psychics and healers who are going to be coming on. So you want to make sure that you're in the Zoom room on Saturday night so that you can receive, similar to what we saw Lorna spontaneously receive from Jerica today. We've got all these people who are psychics, Reiki healers, or Reiki masters that are going to be providing psychic readings and healings this Saturday night. So make sure you're in the Zoom room. And then it's going to be a very special Sacred Sunday show. Once a month, we do a Sacred Sunday show. And this year, or this month, I should say, I'm going to be coming to you live from the Soul Search Enlightenment Expo. It's happening in San Rafael. And I certainly want to invite all of our Northern California friends to join me live on Sunday. And we're going to, this time, it's going to be a full day Sacred Sunday show. We're going to actually carry all 8 presenters, starting with myself at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm going to be talking about how to kind of complete this winter time and prepare for the spring. Then we will meet a new friend, Catherine Goldsby, talking all about coming out of the psychic closet. And then Yuri Lee, you remember her. She's been on the show before. She's going to talk about past life regression and time traveling. Then Anna Starr, who of course is a regular on this show, talking about the awakening process. Then a fellow named Monty Leach, I don't know him, but he's going to be leading a meditation. Annie Batchelder on soul consciousness and the Akashic Records. Marnell on aligning with abundance. We all want to become a money magnet. And then we're going to close out with one of our favorite luminaries, John Gray, the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. He's been on this show a dozen times. We'll be closing it out at 5 o'clock. So we've got a full day Sacred Sunday show. So definitely put that into your calendars. And a reminder that it is that time. We are approaching spring, which means that it is time for the spring season of the awakening world. So for those of you that are in the Zoom room, thank you for subscribing to the winter season. And some of you have already subscribed to the spring season. But for those of you who have not, please do so now. I put the link into the chat box. When you subscribe, of course, you will get all the Zoom room links for all of March, April, May, and June. And for those of you that are watching on Facebook or YouTube, now is a great time to join the Global Peace Tribe. It's easy. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com. You're going to learn all about our upcoming shows. There's what we're doing right now, Authors That We Love. And then click register for the new season. And that will take you to our registration page. And it's easy to register. You can come in at all sorts of different levels. And that way you get the links to our Zoom rooms. And let me tell you, the Zoom room is where it's happening. There's always lots of chatter. And of course, that's where things like Jerica's wonderful spontaneous healing took place. So now is a really, really good time to join the Global Peace Tribe. We're a beautiful group of amazing people, truly from all over the world, and gather together every Wednesday night, every Saturday night, and periodically on Sundays. So please do join us. All right, I'm going to bring all of our presenters up one last time. And each of you will have a chance to share one final thought. Phoenix, you get to double dip since I already asked you that one. Here's Omar Shar. He counts. Here's Doreen. I know that one of our gals is off having dinner with her husband. And I think I've got everybody who's here. So, Doreen, what are your final thoughts you'd like to share?
Well, first, thank you, Scott, for what you're doing in the world, for sure. And I just want to say that when we read, everyone has a story, and when we read each other's stories, we really come to realize how connected we actually are, because there are archetypes and none of us stray too far off of the archetypes, right? So I think it brings us together, reading each other's stories.
Mhm. Thank you, Doreen. I think you're right. You know, listening to each other's stories tonight has been very inspiring for a lot of people. Jerica, our unsung hero, or heroine, what would you like to share in conclusion?
Yeah, I think I just want to extend my gratitude and appreciation to you, to this container tonight, and also to the great goddesses that have brought us all together, who guide us and continue to awaken us for the greatest good of all involved. So I hope this book helps those who are going through their own spiritual awakening journey in a helpful and beneficial way. So thank you. Appreciate
Thank you,
each one of the
Jerica.
authors, and so much more. But I'll pause there.
Thank you. And Molly and Adora, it all began with you.
Do we have time for Molly to read us a poem?
Absolutely, we do.
Well, first of all, I really want to thank Adora and Nadine also. They were just unbelievable how they pulled this book together in just over a year. 18 women they had to tow, plus an editor, but it was just a publisher. So I really want to thank you. Amazing women. So this poem is the last poem in my story. And I want to say that I'm depression free after struggling with it for so many years. And when this poem came through, it was such a teaching for me. So I hope it will be for you. And I'm often writing poems to the God, to the goddess, to gods of different traditions. So this is to Allah, and it's called The Pause. Dear Allah, after a lifetime of struggling with ruthless self-beatings, despite singing and dancing, things I was told I could never do, despite writing one beseeching love poem to you after another, when the poem is finished, I still collapse into the horrendous, relentless beast that feasts on how much I hate myself. You tell me, dear beloved, just as the poem ends, just before the monster begins, there is a pause. It is the rest in the drums, in the dance, in the band, in the symphony, in the song, the symbol written into all musical scores. This pause, too, is sacred, is me. A womb-like dome you don't need to enter. This in-between breath puts you there. Then fall into the incubator, the silence, call it love. The next rest will come and creation will follow. No need for the other. That exists only when you forget you are always the beloved.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Mm.
Thank you. Bring up your friends here.
Mhm.
Well, let's send our appreciation to these wonderful women. And again, the book is called Coronation. You can get it on Kindle version on Amazon. Also, I did find Jerica on Instagram. If you wanted to find her, she's under Jerica, Jerrica Rose. Jerica Rose is how you can find her there. And thank you. And I hope that we can see all of you again on the show. Come join anytime. It's a wonderful community and you fit right in. So thank you very much.
Can
Thank you.
I say one more thing?
You may.
Yes. What I wanted to say is we really never know how we affect people. And my religion has always been kindness. And sometimes you find out way longer how you thought something you did was so insignificant, but it made a big difference in someone's life. And I just remembered that when I went to my first high school reunion, it had been 10 years, and I went, and a guy came up to me who I had not thought of in 10 years, had not entered my mind. And he came up to me and he said, I came to the reunion to see you. And I looked at him thinking like, okay. And he said, everybody was so cruel to me in junior high school. You were the one person who was kind. Oh.
Wow.
It was just so amazing. So we never know how we affect people.
And she is so kind. Oh my God.
Well, thank you, Adora, because you're who I collaborated with in putting this together. So I'm grateful. You've been a gem to work with.
And thank you for
I-
having us.
Yes, thank you, Scott.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
wonderful.
And what a wonderful, wonderful book. And everybody, I already see Pam in a chat box wrote she can't wait to listen to all the stories. And I'll bring it up one more time. Here
We'll have
is
it on an audio too at one point after we get the paperback. That's the next step.
all right, all right. Well, we'll definitely make an announcement when it comes out on audio.
Thank
And
you.
here it is, her coronation, sacred stories of initiation and spiritual sovereignty. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Pleasure to
Thank
meet
you.
you all. And
Thank-
we always open and close with our beloved Omashar.
Yes.
And so here we go. Wow, there's a spring background for you.
And let me shine a light inside, and I'll show you where your truth resides. I'll lift your eyes up to the skies, and I'll prove to you that nothing dies. Together we will rise again, and we'll make amends for what we've done. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. So let you take your hands in mine, as I look at you, your spirit shines. You see, it's true that we are one, and we came out from the central sun. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. So when you take a different view, and you dream awake, breathe out the new. The world will come alive again, as we dance and sing and make new friends. I know you hear me, so please do not fear. hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. Welcome you home. So let me shine a light inside. I'll prove to you that nothing dies. Together we will rise again and make amends for what we've done.
Love that song so much. I know so many of us do. And as Phoenix may just write, may we keep dancing and swaying through life. Absolutely. I do want to close with one last thought. One of our most beloved ongoing members is a woman named Sylvia. And we're a little concerned because Sylvia she was kind of moving around from one facility to another, and we haven't heard from her for a little while. So just going to go to gallery view and ask all of us to have a minute of sending our loving prayers and blessings. Wherever you are, Sylvia, maximum grace on your journey. May you be receiving the love and the support that you need. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful few days. I look forward to hopefully seeing all of you on Saturday night. And remember that we can see the divinity in all, and that's how we make the world a little better place, a little brighter. God's blessings. Thank you again to all of our presenters. And Lorna, by the way, said that she's feeling better. So thank you, Jerica. Take care, everybody.